During World War I, Irish nationalists looked to take advantage of British involvement in the war by staging an uprising in Dublin in 1916 called the Easter Rising. This uprising was ultimately unsuccessful, but it did massively increase calls for Irish home rule and independence. One of the key men behind this uprising was a man called Eamon de Valera. So in the closing months of World War I, in May 1918, de Valera was arrested and placed into captivity in Lincoln prison behind me on suspicion of conspiring with the Germans. Now this was ultimately found to be untrue, but de Valera was placed into prison to basically discredit the calls for Irish home rule and independence. So in this video we're going to look at his remarkable breakout story and how it went on to partly inspire the film The Shawshank Redemption. So once the war was over, de Valera was keen to try and escape the prison as soon as he could to try and rejoin the push for Irish independence. No one had ever escaped the prison at this point in the prison's 46-year history, so this was some task. Now, being a devout Catholic at the time, he noticed that the minister of the church inside the prison had a set of keys, one of which would allow de Valera to unlock a back door in the prison yard and let himself out. Now, he knew he couldn't just steal one of these keys, as this would just start a search for the key and he'd be pretty quickly found out. So instead, he made a wax impression of the key and then made a drawing of the wax impression on a postcard and smuggled this out to other members of the Irish Republican Army. The Irish Republican Army then made a key on the outside and baked it inside a cake and sent the cake into prison. This cake failed to be checked thoroughly enough, so the prison guards missed it containing a key. However, unfortunately for de Valera, the key was too small, so it didn't actually allow him to escape the prison. So he then smuggled a second drawing out, and another cake was baked for him and smuggled back in containing a second key, but this key also didn't work. So a third time, the Irish Republican Army just decided to bake another cake and smuggle a blank key with a set of files for de Valera to fashion his own key actually inside the prison. Now this actually worked, and de Valera was able to create his own key inside the prison and then use that to essentially unlock the back door of the prison yard on the evening of the 3rd of February 1919 and release himself onto the streets of Lincoln, ready to rejoin the Irish Republican Army. So de Valera escaped at about 4 p.m. on the 3rd of February 1919, but it wasn't until about 9 p.m. that prison officials realised he was missing, by which point he'd already taken a taxi from Lincoln to Nottingham and then a second taxi from Nottingham to Manchester. So he was long gone by the time they realised he was missing. So this was a massive propaganda win at the time for the Irish, and different rumours were spread around about how he escaped to basically make the British look like fools. To this day, the film Michael Collins, made in 1996, has de Valera escaping by being dressed as a woman. So to this day, there's maybe still some confusion about how he escaped. So de Valera was eventually smuggled back to Dublin across the Irish Sea, and he later served time as the Irish President and Prime Minister. So really, without these cakes being baked and these keys being smuggled in, recent Irish history would probably be very different. He even spent time as well in the USA rousing support for the Irish. And the film Shawshank Redemption is partly based on de Valera's prison escape. So if you are Irish, please comment below what have you maybe missed about de Valera. Tell us a bit more. With a name as cool as that, he'd probably always escape prison. But if you haven't enjoyed this video, please leave it a like.